What is going on here? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in to another video. Today we're going to be returning to our Does It Drift video series where we purchase vehicles in-game, build those cars up to drift spec, and then test those cars rigorously to see if they have the ability to be drift cars. Now, we got another fun one today because I have not reviewed this one, nor have I looked into anything about this thing being able to drift. Alright, here's the other thing. I had to look up the pronunciation. Verlierer. It's actually kind of like, what is that, a French pronunciation? When it's ER, Verlierer. The Bravado Verlierer. So let's get this thing in the garage. Let's see what we can do to it, and let's see if this thing drifts. Now, it's not a cheap car. $700,000 to get it started off, to get it in the dang garage. No armor, no brakes, we don't do that. What do we got for bumpers? What are you gonna let us do? A little bit of action, but not a whole lot. Not messing with it for a second. I'm gonna definitely put that engine in there. What do we got for traction? Ooh, traction is interesting, very interesting. Exhaust. Where's the, I was gonna say, where is the exhaust? Just a center thing right away. So I am definitely digging just the dual out. A little bit more muscly there though, isn't it? I kind of like the look of that though, just because of how far back the cab of the car is. I'm rocking it.
That's a beauty right there.
It is a beauty, isn't it? Isn't it? The square mirrors look really crappy. They look really cheesy. Carbon mirrors. Let's just do the carbon. Well, yeah, let's do those. Plate, not messing with it. Respray, we'll come back to it. Roll cage, you can put a roll cage in there, huh? Well, let's do the color of it then first. Skirts, you know, that looks a lot nicer to put those skirts on there, but I want to try this thing out first. Since we don't know if it drifts or not, let's get a nice little stock build on there. Oh man, I really like the look of that. Some people think that looks too rice or cheesy, but when you like drifting, that is like the perfect spoiler on the back of that thing. So we're gonna see what we can do with this thing as we move into the future. I'm gonna run my traditional street suspension. I've been a big believer in that. So this really is an expensive one, guys. I do hope it does drift. Now I have been on the muscle wheel kick too lately. However, we might try out the SUV wheels. You notice how that rim has a stretched look when it's stock. It looks really cool. I feel like this car needs something exotic like that red, like that action. I like that. I'm gonna run that olive green. I like that. I like that look. Pretty nice crew emblem that it throws on there too, both sides. I need to fix my dang crew emblem, get those stupid dots out of the rendering. That's terrible. Oh, calipers. Oh, that's cool. Calipers in front. I've always really desired them to change that to where you can change the color of the calipers. I'm gonna run that white. I like it. I like the contrast against that olive green. I'm not going to put my emblem on there. I like the look of just this thing nice and stock. That brings us into the roll cage. So do we want a white roll cage or a green roll cage? Or just that gray chrome roll cage? Ooh, that's chrome. I'm definitely got to roll that, right? The chrome roll cage, definitely digging it. Man, I hope this thing, the more and more I'm building on this, I hope it drifts. So what's that leaving us? Windows, of course. Let's get the dark smoke on there. Wheels. So now I'm split on the wheels. Do I want to run the SUV? I'm gonna run the Obey RS's on this thing. This gonna be SUV wheels. You know what? I think I'm gonna run the custom. I'm not a big fan of usually running these, but because I ran the SUV, it just gives you the one thing. There's no red, be like the sports. So what that's gonna leave us with then is figuring out if this thing drifts. So then maybe we'll come back in here and throw the skirts on, and possibly as well throw on front bumper. Anyways, that should do it for this right now. Let's go see if this thing drifts. That is my biggest thing. So let's get this thing to the track. Are we forgetting anything? I feel like we are for some reason. No, that's everything. Let's see how she does. Look at this thing coming out. Alright, so let's figure out what track we're going to bring this thing to, and we'll meet you there. Alright, so I just decided to come back to the S2E5 school course. It allows for so much option. You can really test the higher speed, you can you can check a lot of stuff. Track really does give you the ability to check everything, including high speed drifts, short corner drift, all kinds of stuff. I will say this car sounds awesome. So let's see if this thing stances normally. I definitely... Oh, here's another thing I should note, guys. This thing's in the sports class. For some reason, I thought this was in the sports classic. All right, so that is awesome news. This thing stances up normally. Okay. The heart is beating. I like doing these episodes where I don't know how the car is going to act. I don't know if it's going to drift. I don't know anything about it, you know? Now, here's the thing. We didn't put much on it for things that are going to mess with us. So the roll cage is one of those aspects, and I think that's pretty much the only aspect. We did run the SUV wheels on it. Let's just light them up in this parking lot here, and let's get the moment of truth out of the way. So my first thing that I noticed immediately, and I noticed at the first couple drifts, it likes to straighten out really easy. Also, although it is very responsive to the clutch kick, it's also very, very responsive to the counter steer. Oh no. So here's the deal, guys. Right now, it's too sticky to be a competitive drift car, so I need to try to figure out a way to... Oh, I really messed up that front wheel, didn't I? I need to find a way to reduce the stickiness. Now, it's going to be really, really difficult to do, as I haven't only two options that I can do. I can try to put some muscle wheels on it, and I can also try to take my roll cage out of it and see how that affects me. I'm hoping for the best on this thing. It's a nice looking car, I will give it that, and I will say I did have some high hopes for this thing. I knew that, you know, I hadn't seen much or heard anything about it, so I just wanted to try it. But when I first got in it did a couple little spin outs. I was like, okay, so you're saying there's a chance, you know what I mean? So let's swap the tire compound, let's get this roll cage out of here, and let's see what we can do. Okay, so here's the real thing. I still get nervous even though we know this thing stances normally. I still get nervous doing this in a free mode because if it blows up after all, you gotta pay the dang money. That's never fun to do, is it? Looks like it's gonna stance up real nice for us here, about half the amount of ammunition that we need. It's always nice. So you really gotta pay attention to the car, not the amount of ammunition you shoot at it. Every once in a while, the game only takes half the amount. All right, so mid RPMs, it's slightly more slippery, but we're not looking for mid RPM. We're looking for higher end RPM. The top RPM, that's where we want that slip and slide, and that's why a lot of people run the SUVs, because that's where that slip and slide happens most prevalent. The muscle cars seem like they're pretty much exactly the same for grip. Now, again, we did take that roll cage out too, so it might be the roll cage I'm feeling as well. Hard to say. Again, though, it's still not the, the drift car you want in your garage. Does it drift? Yes, and therefore we can get it a grade. However, it's not, like I said, it's not the one that you want to go run out and purchase right off the pop if you're already strapped for money and, hurting for it. So the Verlierer, the Bravado Verlierer. 700,000 off the bat. It's full price upgrades. So 50,000, 40,000, and like 30,000 for the engine, transmission, and turbo. Then looking for, you do have some upgrades that you can do to this thing. You notice I have it looking pretty cool. It's nice looking, you know what I'm saying? And that's always cool. It's always fun to get a good looking drift car. If you'd ask me, it kind of has that 350, 370Z reminisce, but if you're wondering what it's actually modeled after, it's modeled after the TVR Sagaris, or Sagaris, and the Weissman GT MF5. Not too familiar with the Weissman. I'm going to actually click on that and see. But the TVR Sagaris, I've seen that car before. Oh, okay, there's pictures there. Yeah, similar. But different, definitely different. I'd say it's definitely more like the TVR Sagaris. Weissman, I don't know. Hard to say how you pronounce that name. Anyways, guys, this is going to be an expensive car. Call it right around that 900 to a million mark, all said and done. What you're getting out of it is not worth it, as I said earlier. I cannot lie. It's in that same Spectre and the Hijack range. The Rustin Hijack is way slipperier, and this is on the other side of it. This is way stickier. In the middle of the two is where you want to be with the Rapid GT and the Schwarzer and Fuselages in there. Comet Retro as well. Those four cars seem to really, once you dial them in and get your proper build that you prefer, they can kind of compete side by side. This beast is not going to be so competitive. It's going to be straightened out a lot. It's got really aggressive takeoffs, like it's really grippy, and then what do you do past that? You can't do a whole lot other than just grip up and take off with speed. So although it's a great looking car, how do you can't, you're drifting here. You're not at a car show. We're not at a stance meet. So in cost, I'm only going to give it a 3.5. I have to do that. I can't even give it a 4. It's all it deserves is a 3.5. That brings us into driftability. Now the driftability is a little better than the Spectre. It's a little better than I don't know if it's better than the Rustin. I've seen people really drift the heck out of that Rustin. To where at least they can keep her rolling. I had the suggestion to take the turbo off of the Rustin, and maybe that would help me out. And hey, that's a great idea. I never did actually get a chance to implement that idea, but that might be something perfect for me. And I don't know why I didn't think of that. I actually suggested that in my Comet Retro build. So, anyways, the cost on this thing, 3.5. The driftability, because it straightens out and it has that really crazy speed takeoff thing, and that's the reason it's straightening out. A lot of grip too, just way too much grip. Not way too much, but a bit too much, and that's the problem, is it's just a bit too much. I have to give it again. I'll give it a 3.5, maybe the 4 area. We'll give it a 4, so it's at 7.5 currently, and that's bringing us into efficiency. Now, efficiency was pretty good, if I must say, if you can figure out how to really get this thing to drift, because every once in a while you can come across that little trick or technique to kind of, or just a lot of practice, you know what I mean? I don't know, it's a lot better looking than it performs. That's the problem, unfortunately. So for driftability, guys, I will give it the 4 that it deserves. Let's give it a little single gear drifting action just to see if it does do that. Oh. Alright, so it's actually even too grippy to single gear drift efficiently. Yeah, it's too grippy. That's the big problem. I think that's really contributing to all of its factors. So 3.5, a 4, and a 4, that's 8, 3.5, it's 11.5 then, huh? 11.5 for the Verlierer. I think that's what a lot of these cars are scoring in at, is right around that 10 to 15 mark, unfortunately. There's just not a lot of cars that do perform in this clutch kicking standard with that speed boost glitch. Although I wish there were more. That's what we're trying to test for. We're trying to find a couple out there. Had a couple suggestions out there, so we're going to visit those in the upcoming future, and hopefully those suggestions are leading into a little bit so we can get at least something, something that drifts on this series. So an 11.5 for the Verlierer. I definitely appreciate all of you guys tuning in, liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing the video. If you are sharing the video, you guys know that's what helps this channel grow, or it's one of the big things that help this channel grow, I should say. There's many contributing factors that make this thing grow, as many people know. As always, guys, I hope you stay happy, stay positive, and we will definitely speak to all of you guys next time.